The Eagles will be hosting the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday afternoon before the Bengals at Chiefs game. And I'll be honest with you, BC, this is going to be one of the most tight-knit and confusing games to predict because it's going to go someplace that we do not expect. We're going to see some turnovers by one side. We're going to see one team, both of whom are good at running the football, outdo the other. And I think whoever wins this game is going to be the team that generates more explosive plays. Both of these offenses are explosive. A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel. George Kittle, Jalen Hurts. He's coming off the shoulder injury last week versus the Giants. He didn't have to do too much. But man, D'Amico Ryans, San Francisco 49ers, Fred Warner, and Nick Bosa last week. And for the Eagles, man, they have a complete unit, all things considered. I'm going to kick it to you first things first. This might be the two best teams personnel-wise in football. What are your biggest takeaways, biggest notes coming into this game Sunday afternoon?
So you said it. This is a tough game to predict for you, but for me, it's not. I guess I'll just spoil it for you. Philadelphia is winning this game.
Really?
I got no doubt in my mind. And it's because of what I saw last week. Not in the Philadelphia Giants game. I could give a crap less about that game. It was what I saw in Dallas and San Francisco game. So what I saw was Dallas's run defense has been their kryptonite all year. And they were able to stymie the run for the San Francisco 49ers for about 3.5, about 3 quarters. Late in the third quarter is when they started to really give it up. And in the fourth quarter, San Fran really started to open up on them. But they held up for a very long time. Now, the Eagles' run defense has also been a little bit of a weak point for them. I think the Eagles can kind of duplicate what the Dallas Cowboys did. I think they have a much better defensive line than the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, you got Fletcher Cox and Ndamukong Suh,
Javon Hargrave, Joshua on the outside, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis too.
Jordan Davis
most of the season.
Milton Williams. They got a bunch of Linval Joseph, who's just a veteran, big guy, nose tackle, and Robert Quinn, veteran. He's back. He's healthy. He's more of a pass rusher, but he can make plays for you here and there.
Come off the pine for 7 plays.
They've got so many freaking guys, dude. But I'll get to that. So the Eagles' run defense is going to have to hold up on that front against the run game. I think they can do a good job. CMC is doing very good. But if you saw last week, he's still on the sideline. He's stretching that out, trying to keep it warm.
Both he and Elijah Mitchell didn't practice on Wednesday.
Now I expect everybody to play. I expect them all to play. The guys on the San Francisco front, I expect them to play. But I'm just saying, it can hamper you, especially when you're going up against these big dudes. And dude, Ndamukong Suh, man, he don't play around. Linval Joseph's big boy, all right? That's so close to 300 pounds you don't want on top of you. So on the other side, though, San Francisco's run game was arguably the best. It was them in Tennessee. They were able to shut down Dallas's running attack on offense. Mostly to do with, Tony Pollard going down, but they were able to stymie it and really shut it down. I believe this. Listen, Philly's run game, Dallas's run game, if Tony Pollard's healthy, I think they're on the same wavelength in terms of running backs.
Yeah.
But now you add Jalen Hurts into the mix, and I think that Philadelphia's running attack is going to be able to take advantage of San Francisco's run defense because of that added factor of Jalen Hurts.
He has a numbers advantage.
Huh?
He does present a numbers advantage.
Yep. Because now you're playing real 11-11 on 11 football. You look like you want to say something.
No, I'm looking at some of the stats, some of the data right now. The other thing, too, with that Eagles defensive front, I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth here. As Mike Tomlin says, with a storm, you may be prepared for it. That doesn't mean it's going to stop coming. So, yeah, the Eagles got a lot of big boys, but all of those guys are some of the best in football at their respective positions. And they're going to come from the edge and they're just really balanced all around. It's just like there's no weak spot on that defensive front, that front seven, that specifically I think CMC and this 49ers team can attack. It's going to be on the outside. That's the way this 49ers offense is run, but this is probably the toughest matchup for the Niners, I think, all season long.
Yeah, and you well, I think it's the toughest matchup for both teams. Both teams are going at it. Well, like I've said for the past couple of weeks, these are both the best teams in my opinion in terms of personnel, coaching, everything. I think these are the two best teams. But like you mentioned when you first kicked off this segment, I mean, you said explosive plays, and my first thing that I wrote down was San Francisco's defense allowed 98 explosive plays. That was fourth fewest. The Philadelphia Eagles offense had 80 explosive plays. That was second to Kansas City. So you said it's going to come down to some explosive plays. Well, we got one of the best defenses in not allowing explosive plays and one of the best offenses in getting explosive plays. And that brings me to my point of the Philly passing attack. They had the 9th passing attack in yards per game this year. And like I said last week, and I talked about Dallas and San Fran, I thought Dallas could have been able to take advantage of San Francisco's passing defense in terms of their secondary, more of their cornerbacks, because that's really, if you look at it, those are the weak points. You know, they're not like terrible players or anything, but like compared to everything else on San Francisco's defense, those are the weak points, the cornerbacks. So I thought they would be able to take advantage of that. Now, CeeDee Lamb, he took advantage of that. He had a big day, like we talked about. We also forget in round 1 in the wild card game, Seattle played against San Francisco. DK Metcalf had an incredible game. He had 10 receptions, I believe, for a buck 30 something. I think he had a touchdown too.
Big time.
Yep. Now guess what? Guess who San Francisco's got to go up against this week? Because those last two matchups, they really had to only worry about CeeDee Lamb killing them and DK Metcalf killing them. I know Tyler Lockett's there. I know Dalton Schultz and those guys are there, but they didn't have big games.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have to worry about Devonta Smith. They got to worry about A.J. Brown. And they got to worry about Dallas Goedert.
That one-handed grab Goddard had early in that game versus the Giants was filthy.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I think that the offensive attack of Philadelphia is just as good as San Francisco's. They've got a complete offense. The offensive line is one of the best, if not the best in the league. It's right there. They got guys. Dude, Jason Kelsey, I mean, he's been a staying point for the last decade, I guess, almost as one of the best centers, if not the best center in football. Lane Johnson, I know he's injured with that groin, but he's playing through it and he's playing tough, and he makes a difference. Like if you look at the numbers of the Eagles since Lane Johnson has been on them from when was he drafted? 2012, 2013, I think, around that time.
Mm-hmm.
Since he's been on there, the numbers don't lie. When Lane Johnson doesn't play, the Philadelphia Eagles are a different offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely different. He's playing.
Yeah, 2013 for Lane. I mean, they've always filled in the guard spots as well, from Brandon Brooks to what they have now. I think for San Francisco, you're right on the point that Jarvis Ward and Demondre Lenore, those are two corners that have a pretty tall task this week. Because not only do you have A.J. Brown, but Devonta Smith is a stud. He is such a good athlete. His ability to create plays outside the boundary, I think that's the player that's going to beat the Niners this week. If anybody from Philadelphia is going to really go off, much like we saw versus the Giants, Adoree Jackson can do a solid job. And AJ, he didn't look right in that game per se. I think Devonta Smith is quickly emerging as that 1B. And so this week for him, I'm expecting 100-plus yards. I think Jalen Hurts has 200-plus passing yards more than last week, but maybe the biggest player to look out for in this game would be Miles Sanders because of his ability to break a big-time play. And I also have...
He's dealing with an injury too, I think, right? Miles Sanders.
That's why, yeah, Kenneth Gainwell last week led him in carries and yards. Your prediction for this game is?
Well, I want to get to my last point, basically. My main point, what I was building to, is why I believe so much that San Francisco is going to lose this game and Philly is going to win. This is my main point and what I took away from that Dallas Cowboys game. Dallas Cowboys had one good, or he is a great player, but good or better cornerback in that game, Trayvon Diggs. Their cornerback 2 and their cornerback 3 were out. They're playing with backups. That's what the San Francisco 49ers were able to take advantage. Again, somebody can correct me if they want. I watched that whole game. I only remember the dropped interception as the only target against Trayvon Diggs that entire game. I really could not remember any other targets to him, which is a great game plan. But guess who you're going against this week, John? The best cornerback duo in the NFL. Not only that, the best secondary in the NFL. The best defense, passing defense in yards allowed per game. Number 1, 180 yards per game. You're going up against Darius Slay, Big Play Slay as they call him, and James Bradbury, who is the second team All-Pro this year, I believe. You got CJ Gardner-Johnson at safety. And the best pass rush in the NFL. I know we named a couple of them. I had them all written down right here. I just want to go over just to get you guys to understand how many fresh legs that they can throw at you. Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Brandon Graham, Hargrave, Linval Joseph, Robert Quinn, and Ndamukong Suh, Josh Sweat, Milton Davis, Hassan Reddick. That's an insane amount of pass rush and run stoppers that they can throw at you.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned Hassan Reddick before. He's kind of been a awesome player this season.
Yeah, he's been their best pass rusher all season.
Yeah.
So was it 16.5 sacks, I think, or 17.5 sacks?
Yeah, and I think it was 2 or 3 years ago the Cardinals were trying to make him inside linebacker.
Yeah. But again, so many names that they can throw at you and fresh legs that they can throw at you. For me, Brock Purdy is going to turn the ball over this game. He threw at least two that I can remember turnover-worthy plays in that Dallas Cowboys game. Mm-hmm. They weren't able to take advantage of them. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles will be able to take advantage of them because, for me, you're not going to be able to have Debo or Brandon Ayuk and put him up against a cornerback that is lacking in the Philadelphia Eagles. George Kittle might be able to get a little bit of his. You might be able to expose some things there.
Mm-hmm.
But the receiving-wise, I think that it's going to be a much, much tougher task for those receivers in San Francisco. So I think the Eagles are going to win the turnover battle. I think Hurts is going to outplay Brock Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
That's another major factor for me is that the quarterback play. Both teams are very comparable, right? I said that from the beginning. But the one difference that we can point at and be like, oh, right there, quarterback. Jalen Hurts is more proven than Brock Purdy. People were talking about Jalen Hurts being an MVP. My host right now said Jalen Hurts should have been the MVP not even, I think, 4 weeks ago. So I know a lot of John likes to say it's a team sport. It's the ultimate team sport, and I agree. It is. Defense wins championships, but quarterbacks win Super Bowls. And it comes down to whose quarterback plays better at the end of the day. And I believe Jalen Hurts is going to be play better than Brock Purdy. I got a final score of 28-24. Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Well, it's a good thing this ain't the Super Bowl, Brandon. The 49ers are winning this game.
No, they're not.
They are. And here's why. Jalen Hurts last week versus the Giants defense looked pretty good, right? But in this matchup versus the San Francisco 49ers defense, he has not seen something like it this season. Now, you would say that, Brock Purdy also hasn't necessarily seen something like this Eagles defense, but Brock Purdy's not coming off a shoulder injury. Brock Purdy's not working his way back, and I think maybe the biggest thing here is Brock Purdy last week had his worst game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys. It's also the same quarterback that in his playoff debut threw 3 touchdown passes versus a really good Seahawks secondary with Tariq Woolen. And you know what I say with these weapons, Bren? They have better weapons, though not by a wide margin, than the Eagles. And given A.J. Brown last week wasn't at full swing, and I do think Devontae Smith is going to have himself 100-plus yards, I look at Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle, and say to myself, they're going to do the heavy lifting as they have all season long. It's no surprise that Brock Purdy's job is going to be simplified because of the role he's in. He's the 3rd, 4th, 5th reason they're going to win games. But that's the thing. This year, he's shown the ability to hit a kill shot. I think in this game it's going to be low scoring, and San Francisco will win because their defense will be the one that wins the turnover battle. You talked about some of the Eagles' injuries, Lane Johnson too. I really think you're overlooking a 49ers defense with Fred Warner, who last week gave Dak Prescott trouble. And this week against Jalen Hurts, I think it's going to be much the same. You could talk about maybe the quarterback being better, Brandon, but I'll be honest with you, who is the better head coach? 49ers or Kyle Shanahan. And I don't think it's by a wide margin, but you talk about the defenses, which unit is better, I'll lean San Francisco any day of the week. You talk about the weapons, I'm also going with the Niners. Offensive line, who's going to protect Brock Purdy, and who is going to be the one reducing the role of Hassan Reddick, let's say? Well, Trent Williams, pretty damn good. All things considered, Brock Purdy will have a better day than Jalen Hurts, not because he's a better quarterback, because the Eagles are a worse team. And I think in the biggest of moments, Brock Purdy, that man is going to shine and lead the San Francisco 49ers team to the Super Bowl. Something J. Ray predicted after a 3-4 start. You know what's going to happen for these Niners, Bren? You know what's going to happen? They're going to win their 16th game of the season. And that will lead them to the Super Bowl against the Cincinnati Bengals. The rematch from 30 years ago. Joe Cool, Joe Montana versus the Bengals. And we're going to see that once again here in 2023. I'm pretty pumped up for this game, bro. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pretty pumped up.